there we go. Did you all get a notification right now that it's recording?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay. Okay. So, getting started. So, give me 1 second. So right here, I have one of the cameras that those of you who are going to come to campus eventually and check out a camera from us, this is what the camera looks like that we have available. It has a bunch of different pieces inside the camera bag that will help with. There is a discussion posted. Yes, we just fixed that. Thank you, Cassie. There is a camera inside the camera bag that you get. It's gonna come with a bunch of different components and cords and whatnot. Each camera is gonna have a battery charger, a battery, a memory card. It's called an SD card, and then it should come with one of these little. It looks like a flash drive, but it's actually a card reader. And so the SD card will go into the card reader, and we'll plug it into the computer. And that's what we're going to do today. So I've already just went around my studio and took a few photographs right now. And I'm going to load them up into Lightroom and talk about Lightroom and the interface and how to get from a raw file to, like, say, a small JPEG. So if you go to the module, I'm gonna share my screen in a second. Okay, give me 1 second here. So can everybody see my screen? Cool. So I've updated the assignment. You all should have seen this assignment already if you've gone through the module, but I updated this part of the module, and all this will make sense by the end of this class. So, but these are the specs that I need the files to be in when you load them up into this Google Drive. And I'm literally going to take you from getting the images into the computer all the way to loading them into the Google Drive today. So follow along, review this if you have to later, okay? But this section is what we're going to be focused on today, this little line right here. So, okay, without waiting any longer, the thumb drive, let me stop sharing the screen for just a second. So I'm sorry, not the thumb drive, but the card reader looks like a thumb drive. It has these little slots on the side, and the SD card will go into the slot. So I'll just show you right now. Make sure that when you slide that SD card into the slot, if it doesn't feel like it's going in, don't force it. It probably means that you've got it turned around in the wrong orientation. Okay, so that's the wrong orientation. This is the correct orientation. I slide it in and it'll just kind of slide into place. Okay, you'll take this and you'll plug it into your computer. It's just a normal USB 3. If you have a computer that doesn't have a normal USB 3, then you'll probably need an adapter or something to do this part. So I'm going to take it and plug it into my computer. Hopefully it pops up. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Great. I'm going to start sharing one more time. All right. So I've opened Lightroom already in my computer. Once you have it, you have to download it from the Creative Cloud or whatever in order to use it. But I have it down here in my dock. I don't know, maybe some of you have PCs and maybe you don't have a dock or something. I'm not entirely sure on that. But I put my Lightroom down here in the dock so that I can just start it. Like if I quit out of it right now, and come down here to Lightroom Classic, open it up. What happens is it depends on sort of like if it's your first time opening it, it's just going to open with this kind of interface and it'll look just like this, maybe not anything here on the side, but it's going to look exactly like this. So I'm going to go over what you need to do when you start using Lightroom. Let me eject the card again really quick just so I can show you what happens. So let me just go over real quick what some of this is. On the left side, you'll see, if you have, when you have your Adobe logged in, or if you're using the school computers, you're going to have to use your Adobe logins. So it'll be usually your UCI email with whatever password you've created, and you'll start Lightroom, and then there'll be a dialog box probably prompting you to log in. So you just use your login information and it should pop up. Right below that, you see this part. This is Navigator and all this stuff on the side. This is kind of thinking about where all your files are, and that'll make a lot more sense in a second. This middle area is where the preview for the files will be. The right side is kind of quick adjustments. We call them develop, but it's just quick adjustments. There'll be a histogram here, which is a graph that will make a lot more sense in a second as well. Down here at the bottom, this is also a place where there'll be navigation tools to navigate through files. And then this top row of tabs, we'll call them, up here have different functions when you're dealing with the files, and we'll go through some of them. Like, I don't think I've ever used map, book, or slideshow or web, to be honest, in Lightroom. I usually just use library, develop, and print. So yeah, that's that. So the reason I wanted to start off with the card not inserted is, watch what happens. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. What we need to do from this point is, I personally prefer to work like this, and it's kind of a sort of abstract concept to understand, but it'll come to you quick. But it's just kind of all about being organized with your files when you're first starting off. Now it makes perfect sense to me and whatever, but it took a moment getting used to. So some other classes, I don't know, maybe some of you already know how to use other programs like Bridge. And obviously Photoshop, we're going to be using Photoshop eventually. But those Bridge and Lightroom are both programs, and we call them file management programs. It's a program in which we can sort of manage a large number of files at the same time. Instead of like in Photoshop, you work on one file at a time. If I was say an event photographer, a wedding photographer or something, and I shot 10,000 photos in one day, you don't want to have to go through 10,000 photographs, right? You want to be able to manage a large number of photographs at the same time. So that's what Lightroom does. It manages photographs. It also helps us with our raw files. Remember, we learned last class that raw files need a program in order to be read and to be seen, right? It's just raw data. Otherwise, it's just data before. And so what Lightroom does that's different than, say, another file management software like Bridge is, Lightroom creates this file called a catalog. And in the catalog, everything is recorded that you do to a file. So you can always backstep everything that you do. That also includes with raw files, it creates a thumbnail preview of the raw file in the catalog. So when you're actually working on files in Lightroom, we're not actually working on the raw files, we're working on this thumbnail preview. I sort of like to think about it as the thumbnail preview is sort of like it's like a recipe. So you have your ingredients and you have your cooking, and eventually when you mix the ingredients and the stuff that you do in cooking, like whatever, pots and pans and ovens or whatnot, when you're done with that, you have a whole new product. You have a whole new file. In our case, a photograph or an image. So Lightroom doesn't ever sort of work on the raw file. It works on a preview of it. So the raw file never actually gets damaged. It never loses information or anything like that. It just sits. Whereas Lightroom does its thing and creates a preview and whatnot. Again, it's a little abstract. We're going to go through it, exactly what that looks like in just a second. But the way Bridge, for example, works is it's like a very linear thing. So you go, you select the file where it exists, you work on it, you either take it into Photoshop or you process it out and create a new file or whatever. It works very linearly, where Lightroom is using these thumbnail previews. So once you get the hang of Lightroom, it's sort of like Bridge and Camera Raw Converter and Photoshop. It's sort of all these different programs mixed in one. And you can again deal with a huge number of files at the same time, which is very helpful. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure that our camera pickups are going smoothly. Okay, yes. Okay, so let's move on. When I started Lightroom, I have on my computer, I have my own Lightroom catalog that I have. It's sort of like a master catalog. You see right here, it has something like 2,700 photographs in my master catalog. I'm not going to use that catalog. I'm going to create a new catalog just for this class so that I can work on images with you all simultaneously that just have to do with this class. So to make a new catalog, and you should all do this when you get your, if you have Lightroom and you're following along right now, you should do this right now. If you're going to do this later, you should most definitely create a new catalog. So come up here to File, New Catalog. Okay. And then what's basically happening right here is I need to title the catalog and I need to tell it where to go, where to save the catalog. So I'm going to go to Desktop. I'm going to do a new folder, 71B, create, and I'm going to, name it 71B as well. Okay. And so I'm going to create. It's asking me to back up my previous catalog. That takes time and space, and we don't need to do that. So Lightroom shut down right now, and it's generating a new catalog, and it's going to open back up. And the interface is going to look exactly the same, with the exception of it doesn't have my master catalog stuff. It doesn't have all my information in here. It's all basically at 0. So the thing I want to also show you is on my desktop what that looks like. So 71B. This file right here that says LRCat, that's Lightroom catalog. That's the actual file. Okay, this will grow in size as we import more images into Lightroom and whatnot. Remember, it's going to be a thumbnail preview. It's not going to actually be images that are being imported. It's just a preview of the images. Okay, and these are all just data files. They don't open or anything. But this is the catalog that I just created right here. Okay, you'll see why it's important in a second. All right, so I'm gonna close this and come back here. So I had ejected my memory card. I'm gonna put it back in, and what should happen is Lightroom, it should switch into another screen, an import screen right now. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. So I'm gonna plug it in to my card reader. There it is. Okay, so this is a whole new screen that just kind of pops up over the top of the original interface, and this is the import screen. Now, if you plug in a memory card and you have Lightroom open, chances are this import screen is gonna pop up. If it doesn't pop up, you can always come over here to import, and it's gonna be the exact same thing. Okay. The left side, think of the left side is the source of the files. Think of the middle as the files themselves, and think of the right side as the destination. Okay. So on the left side, we have, like I said, it's the source. In this case, it's coming from a memory card, but I also have, you'll have your entire hard drive on your computer, say, as a possible source. So that's what this Macintosh HD hard drive stands for. But in this case, we're just going to use the memory card, the SD card. Okay, so up here at the top, we have different things that we can do with these files as we import them. Right now, they're going to, copy is selected. So it's just literally going to copy all of these files into the destination, wherever we tell it to. Or we have this option, it's copy as DNG. And since since Emma brought up DNG earlier, I'm gonna actually copy as DNG. It doesn't really matter if you copy or copy as DNG, because remember that .cr2 means it's a raw file from a Canon. What it's gonna do is just take that data, that .cr2, and just convert it to .dng, which is fine as well. But Lightroom will read the CR2 or it will read the DNG, doesn't really matter. But in this case, let's copy as DNG. It literally does the same thing. On the right side here, typically I like to make sure that this, I don't build the smart previews. I don't make a second copy to or add to collection, but I do like when don't import suspected duplicates is checked. What happens with that is if you already have, say I shot these images and I ejected the memory card and then I plugged it back into the camera and I forgot to format the card and I just continued shooting. And then I plugged the card back in and wanted to download. Well, since these images already exist in my Lightroom catalog, it already knows, and it won't let us select these images to import. It auto checks all of them as we're moving along when we first plug it in. But if it feels like it's a suspected duplicate, it will just not give you the option to import it. So it's helpful. It definitely helps from, I don't know if you've all done this in the past, but have like 4 or 5 different copies of the same file in different places because you forgot to erase images off of a memory card or something. Okay. So file renaming, I'm not even going to mess with, or apply during import, I'm not going to mess with. I'm going to come down here to destination. This part is important. Okay. You see that it defaults to the pictures folder in on a Mac. I'm not sure where it defaults to in a PC, but a lot of times if you're not careful about where you copy your images to, sometimes they just kind of go off into the I don't know, they just don't exist anymore, but you know you imported them, you just can't find them anymore. So it's, for me, it's always very, very important that I tell Lightroom exactly where I want it to copy to. Okay, I don't want it to copy to pictures folder because that's just sort of like a, you know, a abstract phantom folder that exists on the computer. And I don't like that. So remember, I made a folder called 71B that contains the Lightroom catalog in it. What I personally like to do is start to keep things in the same folder. Okay. So in this instance, I'm gonna, you know, if I just select 71B like this and I hit import, then let me pull it back up. Then you're just gonna have a bunch of raw files here, just kind of loose in this area. I hate that for myself. I personally prefer to try to stay as organized as possible. A lot of times I'm not the most organized person, so I take extra steps to organize. Sometimes maybe a little overboard, but it works for me. So what I do is I'm going to actually create a new folder. I'm not going to do it in the desktop. I'm going to do it right here. So with the 71, I'm going to come right here. With the 71B folder selected, I come up here to this plus sign, and then I hit create new folder, and this dialog box comes up. So since I had the 71B folder already selected right here, this is where I'm starting off. In this bottom left corner, I can hit new folder, and then I'm going to title this, even though it's not all Windows, but Windows Raw. And for you all, for those of you who are shooting your assignment soon, you'll want to make a folder called Windows Raw with the raw files in it. So Windows Raw, create, I'm going to choose that folder. You'll see over here that it created the folder, and we'll watch what happens right here. But now also we see on this side, Windows Raw has been created and it's been selected. I hit import now, and you'll see it's importing all those files from that memory card onto my desktop into this folder that I've created called Windows Raw. Now the images are popping up here in the middle. It says eject card after import, which is pretty cool. That means that it's done importing and it no longer, it's already ejected the card from the computer. You don't have to eject it. And now I can just unplug it and we're good to go. Any questions so far? I know that's a lot of, that was a whole wall of information that just came at you. Okay, I'm gonna move on. All right. So we're not gonna get into editing the images today or anything like that. We're just gonna get into just sort of ways of viewing the images and then creating JPEGs for the Google Drive so that we can view these images later as a class. So like I said, this left side here on the library tab, the left side over here is the navigation tab. So now we see under Macintosh hard drive, we see Windows raw, right? This folder. As I shoot more and create more folders, all the other folders will start to populate underneath this. And you see this number 29, that means I shot 29 photos on that memory card. There's 29 photos, 29 images in this folder right here. Okay, and this is just sort of telling you exactly where all that is located. So here's our images, okay, in the middle. I want to go over a few different ways of viewing them. So there's this way, which is the grid, and you can take your thumbnail and, oh, I guess that's for the bottom. Never mind. You have this grid up here of images, and you can see all the work like this. It's a little confusing. Oh, there's something in the chat. You guys probably want to talk to me. Definitely going to review the recording. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you have questions, please just interrupt me, because I feel like I'll try to keep an eye on the chat, but I'm off in my own world speaking right now. So there is this grid, which is a way to view the images. I personally can't stand this. This is overwhelming for me. Okay, so one thing that you can do is see how this first image is selected. If you come down here and you click this icon right here, I don't even know what it should say. Oh, it says loop view. It should be just a single image. So now I can see the single image. On this left side right here, you see this. This is all the image information, right? This is the metadata. So this is the file name. This is telling me that I shot this at 1/25th of a second at f6.3 at ISO 400. This is the lens information. I shot it at 18 millimeters. This particular lens was the EF lens that goes from 18 to 55, from f3.5 to f5.6. That's where it starts. That's just cool to have that lens information, or I'm sorry, the metadata. So that should show up on the left side. Here's your image right here. If, for example, I want to zoom in, I can just click it, because you see that my icon is turned into a magnifying glass or a loop, right? And I can zoom in like that, okay? You have different kind of options over here in the navigator. I can zoom in 100%. I can change it to 25%. So if I zoom in, it only zooms in 25%. You can change it all the way to 1600. So it's really, you can see exactly where the navigation, where the little window is. I can move it up here. Obviously that's not very helpful, but that option is available to you. 100% is usually the best for that. If you want to get back to the grid, you can click right here where you see this grid, and it'll take you back to the grid. So you can also double click. Sorry, I didn't explain that. You can double click the image and it'll bring up the singular image. If you double click it again, it'll take you back to the grid view. Okay. So what I was talking about before was about this way of sort of managing a large number of files. This is not a large number of files. This is only 29 files. Those of you who have taken 71A know that this is not even a roll of film, right? This is a roll of film is how many exposures on a normal roll of film? Does anybody remember? Anybody? No,
32.
close. Anybody else want to take a guess? $36. So a normal roll of film is 36 exposure. There's some rolls that are 24 exposure, but we normally work in 36 exposure. So this is not even a roll of film right here, okay? You can tell how many files there are, again, by this 29, or you can even see down here, this 29 next to this image or this file, okay? You can use your keys on your keyboard to navigate through the images, to toggle through them. So I'm just hitting the arrows on my keyboard to go through these images and see what I have here, okay? You'll see on the right side, this is really important, and I'm probably gonna start, you're gonna hear me talk about this quite a bit. This graph here, okay? What this graph is doing is telling me where all the tonality in my file is represented in this graph. So to the left is all my darks, okay, all my shadows. All the way to the right is the highlights. Everywhere in the middle is some kind of midtone, okay? You can see in this graph, there's a ton of shadow information. There's a lot of blacks, and I can look at this file and see, yes, there's a lot of black right here. There's a lot of black right here. It's a silhouetted photograph, so there should be a lot of black, right? In an image like this one, you see that the graph shifts all the way over here to the right. That means that, see how this side of the graph goes off and goes off up here. That's what we call clipping. That means that we've lost information in the highlights. There's no information anymore in this file over to the right of this and to the top part of this. Means it's blown out, and I can look at it and see, okay, yeah, there's not a lot of information there. My exposure was off, basically. Okay, let's go back to this one. So these other parts, you see blue, a cyan, a yellow, a red, a magenta right here. There's not much green. There's a little hint of green right here. What that is that's the same. It's the same sort of information, but it's represented, it's split up into the different color channels. So it's telling me where the different colors fall, which is sometimes helpful when you're looking at a file and you're trying to sort of figure some color stuff out. Okay. We're not going to really go through any of this quick develop stuff because we're going to actually develop, we're going to actually make, we're going to go through all the different develop settings in a later class, but that's what this quick develop stuff is. If we wanted to enter some metadata, if I wanted to put if I put, my name, in this file, which I'll do, what happens is when I make say I make a JPEG of this to put on the Google Drive folder, similar to all this information that's embedded just into this file, it's metadata. Now my name will also be embedded into that file. So that's useful sometimes, like if somebody, I don't know, this image made it onto the internet somehow and became part of somebody's Google search, and they wanted to find out who the photographer was, maybe, they could look up the metadata in the file and find, oh, Hiroshi Clark is probably the photographer or something. It's sometimes cool. It also helps you if you start to really get into tagging your images. You could use different tools in Lightroom to just, if you put I don't know, window right here, in every image that you ever shot, you tagged and you, I don't know, in your lifetime maybe shot, I don't know, 300 window photographs. If you search for window photographs in your Lightroom catalog, all the window photographs would pop up. So it's pretty cool if you really get into it. It's not a requirement by any means, but it is available to do right here. Down below, if you scroll down, there's just more metadata information. So the capture time was 3:05. It was shot today, right? The dimensions of the photograph, lens, ISO, the brand of the camera, so on and so forth. Okay. There's a, side note, there's a really, we'll get into it later, but people have used like metadata in like trials and stuff. And you can really figure out a lot of stuff. And basically every photo that your phone takes and every photo that your camera takes or whatever digital photograph usually will have all this information in it. It'll tell you exactly when and where, or not where necessarily, but it could tell you where on some stuff where it says GPS here down at the bottom. Okay. Any questions now? Okay. So I'm going to go back up here to the first one. Okay. So let's say I have 29 images. Does anybody know how many images the assignment calls for? Are you sleeping on me? Nobody knows how many files you need at the end? Thank you, Brenda. 3, exactly. So I need 3 photographs to turn in. Now, one way of doing, so let's say I probably shot this in let's see, I started at 3:05 and my last one was at 3:11. So I was taking pictures for 6 minutes. Please take more than 6 minutes to photograph your assignments, okay? If you've only photographed 6 minutes worth of photographs, chances are you're not really pushing yourself very far and you're not really hitting that sort of like creative sweet spot, okay? So let's say that I shot for an hour, right? That would be like 290 photographs at this rate. If I had 290 photographs and I have to get it down to 3 photographs, that's quite a bit of like going through and trying to figure things out, right? And trying to remember, oh man, I really liked image 3588 and I really liked image what is this, 3597. It becomes a pain in the butt to try to remember all these file names and go through it and go back and revisit these. So one way of dealing with this is there's a way we can rate these images. It's a tool built into Lightroom. So you see these stars down here, okay? So we can go all the way up to 5 stars with these images. Personally, I don't really go more than 1 or 2 stars with my work. It becomes a lot. But some people really like to get, go back through the images over and over and over again until they get down to 5 stars. For 29 images, I feel like if we get to 2 stars, we'll be fine. So what I mean is I can look at this image and say like, okay, maybe I like this one, push 1 on my keyboard. Now you see that star lit up, okay? Go back through these. Maybe I like the light in this one, give it a 1. Maybe I like the light in this one. No, maybe, no. Sure, 1. Cool. And I'm just going through the images, and any image, there's Rudy. Any image that you just kind of think, oh, maybe that's cool, whatever, you can think about later. 1, I don't know, 1. Oh, good, this is good. So this image is actually on its side, right? So what you can do is on your keyboard, sorry, scroll up here. On your keyboard, if you hit Command and the left bracket, it'll rotate it left. If you hit Command and the right bracket, it'll rotate it to the right. Okay, I believe if you wanted to rotate it using one of these tools up here, maybe, I don't know, it must exist up here somewhere, maybe photo, yeah. photo. So you can rotate it like this up here under photo. There's all the rotating keys right here. You could even flip it if you wanted to. So when you rotate it clockwise, that's what that means, CW clockwise. And there's the image, okay? And let's say this one. Okay, so now I've starred them. Now I can even see if I look down here at the bottom, oh, these are all the starred ones, right? Cool. But what is cool about it in Lightroom is if I come over here to filter, I can filter out all the ones that don't have a rating. So if I come over here to rated, change it from filters off to rated, now everything that I starred is the only thing that appears here. Everything else didn't get deleted, it still exists, it just got filtered away so that now I can just scroll through these and see these and figure out which ones I like, okay? So now we can go back through it and go 2-star ratings if we want. So, you know, I don't know. I give that 2, I like the light. This is weird, I like it. Maybe that's good. Maybe not with Rudy. Maybe my hand is cool. Sort of dramatic. This is the screen of my window covering half of the image. Maybe that's kind of cool. Okay. Now I've gone to 2. So you see over here, filter, and you see the greater, is it greater than, no, 1 star. Yeah, greater than 1 star, right? If I wanted to now just see the 2 stars, I can hit 2. Again, the 1 stars didn't get deleted, they still exist. If I went back down to 1, they would pop back up. If I went to 3 stars, everything would disappear because we don't have any 3-star ratings, right? Maybe we'll get into 3 stars. So now we're down to 6 of these images. Now I just need to get rid of 3, right? I'll go back through them real quick. Okay, easy. So I'll keep this one. I'll give it a 3-star. I like this. I'll give it a 3-star. And I like this, and I'll give it a 3-star. Now I have my 3 images that I'm going to turn in. Okay. Easy, right? I mean, hopefully it'll take more time than that because you're going to have, like I said, 200, 300 images because you've shot for an hour. You didn't shoot for 6 minutes like me. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these images, and right now, remember, they're raw files. They're that we converted them to DNGs, right? We see it right here, .dng. What we're going to do is we're going to create JPEGs of these images, small JPEGs that we can just throw onto the Google Drive and that everybody can take a look at. Okay. So to do that is, first off, I'm going to select all of them, which for Mac users, it's a Command A, or if you want, you can, select one and then go to the last one, hold down Shift and select them. Sorry, PC users, I'm sure it's probably the same thing. Some kind of Command or Option A will probably select them all. But just figure out the way that you select them all. Does anybody know who's a PC user? How do you select all?
Yeah, you can just do Control A instead.
Control A, thank you. Hit Control A, and then you're going to come over here to export. Remember, we had that we dealt with import earlier. We're importing the images in here. So now we're going to take these 3 images and we're going to export them out as JPEGs. When you hit export, you have this dialog box that comes up. Don't worry about the left side right now. Just worry about this right side, okay? And just like with anything else, when we get into develop, especially, we're gonna be sort of dealing with a lot of different options. And so my way of approaching this is to start from the top and work your way down. So we're starting at the top. It says export location, specific folder is selected. I don't remember what the default is, but the options are what we call sticky. So they've stuck since the last time I used this. Okay, so you can put it into a specific folder, the same folder as the original photo. Choose folder later, useful for presets, so on and so forth. And then these are all different folders that I've apparently used in the past. So we're gonna go specific folder, and right here is, you see the specific folder. I have this desktop folder called stuff. It's just kind of where I dump stuff. But I'm gonna go back to that 71B folder. Remember I made this folder Windows Raw. Well, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna create a new folder in there, and I'm gonna name it JPEG. So now I know that in Windows, did I close it? No, it's over here still. So Windows Raw, down here at the bottom, you see JPEG. You all see it down here? I've created that folder, and now I know that the photos that I've selected are going to go straight into that folder if I hit choose here. Okay. There's these other options to put into a subfolder, add to this catalog. Don't do any of that stuff. That's how things start to get a little messy. I like it clean and tidy because, like I said, can be an unorganized person myself. So we're going to drop down now to file naming. So right now it's checked. This, rename to is checked, and you have all these different options. We can give them custom names, custom name with original file number. So if like I put like Windows, right? It's going to go Windows 3587 because this first file is probably 3587. Let's see, file name. Yeah, 358. That's the original file name, img image underscore 3587. So if you went say custom name, oh, that's what we did, sequence. Oh no, we didn't do sequence. It was custom name and original file number. Custom name sequence will just start at 1 unless you tell it to start at a different number. So Windows 1, so on and so forth. It is helpful I find, to keep the file name the same unless you absolutely have to rename it. Sometimes I'll ask you to rename your files with your name or your last name so that I know what we're looking at or whatever. But in this instance, keeping the file name the way it is helpful also, because we're only making little JPEGs and we haven't even made any adjustment to these files. So maybe if we look at these and we decide we want to make some adjustments later, we can locate these files relatively quickly if we had to by just looking at the file name. So I'll keep the file name the same in this instance. If there's a video stuff here, if it were a video, which it's not, so we're just going to collapse that. And then file settings. So this is important. We have PSD, TIFF, PNG, DNG, original. So not so on. Those are your options. So like I said, we're making JPEGs today, so we're going to keep it as JPEG. In this class, we'll probably toggle somewhere between JPEG and TIFF. I don't really like to use PSDs or PNGs, and then DNG doesn't make sense. So it'll be JPEG or TIFF in this class. So if you look at the, now we're getting into this part. So if you look at this part, I said sRGB color profile right here, okay? If you come over here, the color space, you have different options. If you hit other, there you go. You have all these different color space options. Don't worry about those. We're really in this class going to only toggle between Adobe RGB and sRGB. sRGB is a small color space that's really useful for like phones or the internet or something like that. Adobe RGB is a massive color space, and that's going to be great for when we start working on images to make prints from. Okay, so in this instance, we're going to use a smaller color space because we're just going to load them into a Google Drive folder. I want to keep it relatively small. Oof, somebody's walking by outside. Sorry. Okay, sRGB is the color space. And then we drop down here to image sizing. So come back over here. It says the images need to be 10 inches by fall at 150 DPI. So if I come over here, when I say 10 inches by fall, what that means is I want the long side of the image, long edge, to be 10 inches, okay? Last time I used this, it looks like I made something 16 inches. I think the default is that it'll be in pixels. So you need to change this right here to inches. And I think the default up here is height and width. I don't want that. I want the long edge and I want it to be 10 inches. Okay. When I say 10 inches by fall, if I say some other dimension by fall, that means 10 inches on the long side and wherever the short side falls. Okay. I'm not going to specify how big the short side needs to be. It's just, I'm only concerned with the long side. That means that if say this image right here that we're looking at, right, it's a horizontal image. That means the JPEG that I create is going to be 10 inches from here to here. 1 second, let me check. Okay, 10 inches on the horizontal edge, and then this vertical side is just going to fall wherever it's going to fall. Any way to make this window larger? Which window?
I can't read what you're looking at, though. The export.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I can.
Yeah, it doesn't get any bigger. Oh well.
Huh.
Figure it out.
Well, that's unfortunate. Is anybody else having a hard time reading the window? Because it might be my connection. Lynn, can you see it? It's okay. It's just fuzzy. Yeah. Anybody else? It'd be really helpful if somebody. No, it's fine for you, for Lynn. Okay. Yeah. Maybe in the video it'll be clearer for you, Cassie. If not, email me and I'll take some screenshots and send them to you. Okay. Getting back to it. Okay, so we have our long edge at 10 inches, and then the resolution. The resolution is also the dots per inch, DPI. It's the same thing. Okay, so that means that when I'm asking for 150 DPI, I mean 150 little dots per inch of the photo. Okay, it's really that that's, again, it's a little abstract, right? And then on this side, sorry, it says pixels per inch. Dots, pixels, sort of the same thing, not sort of, exactly the same thing. Okay, so 150 pixels per inch over on this side. Okay, don't worry about output sharpening, metadata. Don't worry about any of that watermarking. You know, I'm not worried about any other things here for now. I'm just worried about these things right here. Okay, so I've set everything that I need to set. I hit export. You see up here in this upper left corner, you have this, it's telling you what you're doing. So exported. So I'm going to come back over here to this, check my JPEG folder, and there's those 3 JPEGs. Okay, it created 3 new JPEGs for me to turn in to the Google Drive folder. Make sense so far? Hopefully.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay, cool. A couple thumbs up. I like it. Thank you. All right. So last step. In the in the module right here, there's a link right here. If you click the link, then it comes to this page and it says use this link to access Google Drive for Crit. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully we won't have to use this. But this is just going to be where we're going to dump stuff for now until we get in person. The hope is we don't have to. The hope is that we can create actual prints that you all make from inkjet printers in person. For the time being, just for this assignment, let's just use this Google Drive folder so that we can all sort of put stuff in there. So over here, it says, please create a subfolder within the Windows folder with your name. Is there not a Windows folder? There isn't a Windows folder. So here, I'm going to make it right now. Windows. Okay, so here's this is what will show up when you click the Google Drive link. Come in here, right click, new folder, Hiroshi. There's the Hiroshi folder within the Windows folder. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to come back over here to Finder. I'm going to find those 3 images that I've made and drag them right into here. It's telling you what it's doing. Okay, it's complete. So now 71B, Windows, Hiroshi. I should see 15 folders, or 16, I guess, with mine in there. Let's see. Oh, currently Google Drive access denied. Access denied. It shouldn't. Okay, give me 1 second here. Anyone with this link can edit, sign in required, change. Are you should be signed into your UCI Google, probably is probably the issue. Can somebody else take a look and make sure that they can access it? Cassie, are you signed in? When we Google Drive from Canvas, it says access denied.
Yeah, I'm signed into UCI, but I think it also goes through another Google profile.
Yeah, I have the same issue too.
Yeah, it's still good access denied for me too.
I think you have to allow access from Canvas, not on like the Google link. Because when we like click on the Google Drive link from Canvas, it just stays on Canvas.
Huh.
I posted the comment that we get.
You don't have access to view this. We've let your instructor know where to review this link as soon as possible. Bizarre. But I'm in my Google, right? It's my Google. Okay, well, in any case, I'll fix that. I'll do some investigations. But in the meantime, you all should be able to get through your Lightroom and create the images or create the JPEGs, and hopefully by then I'll have this sorted out. So thank you for letting me know. That's so bizarre. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Do we have any other questions? I know it's a lot. It seems like a lot. It's going to be second nature to you, I promise, by the time we're done. But I wanted to get this. Started early so that we can get to making pictures quicker. And we're losing 2 weeks of in-person meetings. So this is something to do in the meantime. Anything from anybody?
No, all good here.
Okay, thank you, Cassie. Anybody else? All right. Well, in that case, wait. Well, the 3 that we should be. Yeah, I mean, if you have experience editing in Lightroom, by all means, go ahead. I don't want to overwhelm with editing. Editing yet. We're gonna get to editing a lot in this class. So I'm just more concerned with everybody being able to get the images into Lightroom and get JPEGs made. That's my biggest concern for this Windows assignment. After this, yes, everything will be edited, everything will be worked on, possibly even through Photoshop too. So yeah, good question. If you know how to do it, go by all means, go ahead. But if you don't worry about it. I'm just looking for the images like this. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna stop recording.